Hi, I'm Janice Penning. I'm a professional certified coach living in Toronto, Canada.
And I'm David Lanjuli, also a PCC living in Naples, Florida.
Hi, I'm Margaret Katz-Can. I'm an ACC and I live in Boulder, Colorado.
And I'm Michelle Malloy Dillon, and I'm a PCC, and I also live in Boulder, Colorado. And together we have created Fundraising Leadership, and we focus on growing nonprofit leaders.
One of the things we see the most is like people are promoted, because they really do a great job of working often with donors and they love working with donors. And then suddenly you're managing a team and it can be very seductive to kind of try to control maybe, what is happening in terms of fundraising because that's your area of expertise. And I think a lot of times what we try to do, like we use the core competency of listening actively to really like notice that, notice our clients' energy and like what cues they're giving us and sort of point out to them maybe behavior that they're not seeing that might be making them feel more stress in that squeeze than they actually need to.
And I think by listening and paying attention, we can help them sort of understand, there's two very different leadership styles, two very different energetic spaces that people get into, especially fundraisers, when you are actively fundraising, working with donors versus when you are supervising, training, giving counsel and supervision to your team. And it's a hard space to drift between. And I think when we listen, we can help them be more conscious about switching gears from one thing to another thing.
People come to us in transition. So maybe they're a first-time manager, or maybe it's like, oh, I've never managed people who manage people, right? So suddenly I'm like in a senior leadership role and it's very different. And so kind of normalizing that it's like, there is a transition period and to sort of cut yourself some slack during that time can be really helpful for clients. One of the ways that coaching is so helpful for leaders is like just naturally, like we all know this because we all have coaches as well that we've worked with at different times. Like when you're being coached, you naturally notice like, oh, someone's being really curious with me and that feels really good. Like, oh, someone's like actually sharing their intuition with me and that's really impactful for me to hear what that is, or somebody's naming something that I'm not seeing. And I think that what they do is then they naturally start to be interested in actually learning like, oh, how can I be a coach-like manager?
Learning, helping them learn intuition with their teams can be so impactful as well. So if we're able to model that as coaches and really truly be able to listen and listen for what's being unspoken with our clients, it's also a great way to model for people who are learning leadership skills with their teams is ways to listen, check in.
I often sort of joke with clients, I'm like, I can't help you manufacture more time here, but I can help you create more energy for yourself. And I think that really is where living a more purposeful life that it like aligns with our values, even if we're still doing the same amount of things, can feel very different.
One of the things I love working with clients on is helping them identify their zone of genius. And distinguishing that zone of genius is first noticing those activities in your life that bring you great joy, and that's aligned with values also. Except when you're in these leadership roles, sometimes there's a veil that comes down, a veil of opaqueness that somehow we get convinced that we have to do all these other things. And then we get caught up in doing all these other things, and that is life sucking.
Yeah.
So listening and helping clients be aware of what's life sucking can be very helpful in them getting to do what is life giving.
And it helps them reignite with their passion, which is often what nonprofit leaders sometimes need help with is, oh, I got into this work to begin with because I was passionate about the mission and I've got lost along the way. And so reigniting that passion can be very energizing.
I was having an enrollment conversation with a prospective coaching client not too long ago. And one of the things she said to me was, well, I have mentors and I have my boss and I have my family members, but I really don't have anyone in my corner. And I said to her, I will be in your corner. That's my promise. This is actually a promise we make as coaches, that we will be in your corner without shame or blame.
Other people in your life care about you, but they're invested in your decision. Whereas your coach is like a neutral person who like fully cares about you living a fulfilled life, living your values, like achieving your goals. But how you actually do that doesn't impact us, right? So we can be neutral enough to say, like, try that, fail, learn from it, experiment.
It's like we're watering the garden of learning and growth. We're not shutting it down. We're not starving it. It's like, it's all allowed. If that's something you want to go out and try, go out and try. And I can't wait to hear from you during our next conversation and see how it's going, and then we'll give it a little more water and see what happens next.
For me, and I think you all really agree, it's like, it's so satisfying to coach a leader, because when that person gets really grounded in who they are and what they're passionate about and what their strengths are, they naturally start to show up in the world in a way that looks for that in their team. And that makes organizations better. And the more our organizations, are more positive and happy places to work, the more that organizations can reach the mission that they set out for themselves.